Welcome to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast with your host, Brandon Seigel. I'm a published author, speaker, entrepreneur, and private practice strategist dedicated to transforming the way that healthcare functions. This podcast is all about empowering you to create the change you want to see. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Seigel. Guess what, everyone? I've got the great Will Humphreys returning to us today. And today we're talking about some of our greatest topics. Are you ready for the number one topic we're going to talk about today? You got it. Recruiting A players. How to fill your bench with top talent. Now, I know a lot of you are just trying to find any talent, but the reality is that every talent you recruit has the potential of being an asset or a liability. So we want to help you find those assets. So Will, welcome back. For those who don't know, who didn't listen to our previous episode, Will has founded, in my opinion, the greatest virtual assistant company in the world. Virtual Rockstars is changing truly the way that healthcare private practices are unlocking greater function. I have seen their work not just with my own support, but also with many practices I work with, whether you're trying to find marketing, medical billing, admin, executive assistant, go to virtualrockstar.com. I promise you, you will not regret it. It will change the way your private practice operates and functions. But let's jump into it. So Will, real quick, in the worst hiring market for practitioners in history, like right now, I'm jumping into it. We're seeing major challenges. Yeah. Really hard to find. What's working that nobody's talking about? Like when you look at all the private practices right now, trying to hire clinicians, what's working, what's not working?
Yeah, man, I've got a bomb to drop on this. This is something that is revolutionizing. There are companies who I promise you, have told me recruiting is easy. Recruiting a talent is easy. And I'm going to share that with you after I tell you how grateful I am for that wonderful compliment you gave me. I can't move on. Your opinion is like the single top opinion. Anyway, that was almost bringing me to tears that you would say that, because you don't say things you don't mean, man. No. And so for me, it's like, you're one of those guys I'm chasing. I am chasing, and I'm grateful to be chasing. I'm like, how can I make my events like Brandon's? How can I be, anyway. So here, I don't want to get to, the whole show is about how much I love you. So here's the whole thing. And this is not a scam. This is not like a gimmick. This is not a trick. This is a process that any of you can do that will completely change your business and solve your recruiting needs forever. And let me ask you, if you could push a button and put an A player in your company, what problems would that solve? And before you answer in your mind, let me say that it would probably solve all of them, almost all of them. I'm sure you could really mishandle your money still, but A players that come to work and make it rain business, come on. So here's what they're doing. It's 2 words. Online communities. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So almost all the people who have very, very successful hiring funnels are developing online communities that solve a very specific problem for their ideal hire or avatar. There's a company here in Arizona. It's a pelvic floor specialty company. And this specialty company started with a new grad as the owner 1 year ago, and they just opened their 3rd location without any private equity, without any, and so they have, her name is Kylie. Kylie is, she graduated from PT school a little bit older, and she understands this thing called social media and online communities. Now, you don't have to leverage social media. Don't hear that wrong. Here's their model. She recognized as a student who wanted to specialize in pelvic floor therapy that there wasn't a lot of online education to help her along the way. There was different elements of it. So she created, with AI now, you can do it so simple, Brandon, but she created this online website that has a portal that she has some educational content that she releases on some interval. But most of these online communities, they're mostly just open Q&As where she would, as she got certified, she would get online and go, hey, first year, second year students, what questions do you have for me? And she was smart. She didn't do it for free. She charges money. Here's the crazy thing. People pay her money to join her online community, to fall in love with her vision and her company, and then line up at her door to hire. And so she was at CSM, which is the biggest physical therapy industry event in the year. It's combined sections meeting. There was 15,000 people there. There was, I think, 5,000 vendors. Like, it was massive. And she had a booth there. And she had all of these people there. And I'm like, who are these people? These are all my clients who are on my online community that are just like, who love us. And they just wanted to show up and support the booth. And they're all kind of secretly hoping for a job. So this is the path. There's a lot I want to say around it, but I'll pause right there to kind of just see how that's landing for you, and because you'll represent the audience. But I just want to ramble because there's so many things about this that are so great and how people can create those.
Well, a couple things. One is, I think this frames concepts that I'm a big believer in, which is, we need to create our own ponds to find and breed the fish we want to be within our organization, because the areas where candidates sit right now, usually it's not quality candidates. And so I always say swampy, murky waters. Like, I go to Indeed and all I get is the third eye fish, is what I call it. So I think this concept of, hey, we need to curate the people that are attracted to us and want to learn from us. And as they learn from us, they're going to desire to co-create with us on a greater level. And so, I mean, similar to like how maybe a private practice owner that you work with and help comes to you and says, hey, I'd love you to partner with me on this private practice or this business venture. It's the same idea of like, if clinicians are coming to learn from you, their ability to not only learn, but get to know you will create a connection in which one day they're going to be like, I need a job. You've got a job. This works. I think our biggest fear is that all we're doing is we're creating fish that want to compete with us. That's the fear, I think.
100%. And here's the reality is that before I started my VA company, I had an online coaching community that taught people how to hire. And I worked with, I think, over 60 companies from small, middle of nowhere, Alaska to large multi-location ones out of New York. And what I learned is that most clinical owners don't struggle with recruiting. They struggle with generating leads. Generating leads is a piece of the recruiting process. What they always would tell me is if I could get people to show up to my clinic for an interview, I usually close them pretty well. I'm like, well, that means you're great at sales. That means you're great at recruiting once you get the lead. But it's the lead generation that people stink at. And it makes sense given the disparity. What's the word? The discrepancy between the number of jobs versus the number of people who are able to fill those jobs. There's a legitimate objective stimulus that's causing this problem. But what people don't realize is that like their problem is smaller than they think. And what people do, we were talking about this on the other episode, is that when they get into that mindset that like, oh, there's no good hires, new grads these days, they're all in it for the money and they don't want to work. Like when you get into that mindset, that basically is them trying to find a way to be comfortable in their misery. And what they don't realize is that guarantees they're going to be stuck forever, because it's not true. You can't generalize a group of people, period. Ever. There are amazing people who are graduating. There are also the third-eyed fish. And so if you go hunt in the streams where everyone's hunting, you're probably going to have not many options. But like you said, if you can build your own pond and attract the ideal fish that will love your company and want to grow with you forever, that's when the game shifts. And when people build their own ponds, guess what? They can go fishing very easily. They don't have to go as far. They don't have to spend as much time in the water because some of those fish are jumping in the boat. It's pretty awesome.
Well, and the two things to this that I think are really critical is one, most practices don't have a unique identification of themselves. And so if they don't uniquely identify who they are, like this is my identity, and then they have to identify everyone that would be torn apart if they were connected to that identity. We always focus on like, hey, I'm all about patient care. I'm all about quality. We speak in generalities and we attract in waves. So what we do is we put a perfume out, but you and I both know once you've been married for many years, that perfume goes away. So if all we do is show perfume, then we're not showing our true authentic identity. And so what I actually try to do is I try to show my smelliest day. Because if I'm really smelly and you're still coming up to me, woo, that's a good thing. And so we look at that. And so even with this identity of, hey, I'm the poop doctor. I specialize in working with patients and their bowel movements and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to deal with that. But someone is just, oh my God, that's so fascinating. Like, the problem is we continue to try and attract on a generic purpose level versus specifying, this is my identification. This is who and what I do. This is where you're going to be. And I think in the framework of your pelvic floor therapist, I think she's got a framework in which people will identify clinically with her. And when you're a clinician and you feel that someone's integrity aligns with your reason for what you do, who else would you rather work with at the end of the day?
Yeah, we have to answer this question called, why would I work for you? And the number one reason, according to LinkedIn, it's 88% of people, when they leave a company, they claim the main reason is they don't see a future in it. So the way we retain, which is recruiting insurance, by the way, like the way we retain is also the way that we should be messaging and recruiting, which is our unique value proposition. So for a standard outpatient practice that uses quality care as a differentiator, you might as well just like be stuck forever. Just being really clear. When people are hearing the pelvic floor story, they're going, well, that's lucky for her because she has this clinical separation that makes her unique. I've coached lots of pelvic floor therapy clinics who have the exact opposite story in their minds. They're saying, well, do you know how many people actually want to even become? There's already a shortage of therapists. So how many fewer of those are even wanting to be, and they're not wrong. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many, here's what's great. Here's the best news of all for all your audience and for you, Brandon, is that it doesn't matter how many jobs there are relative to the market, because 99% of the market is messaging themselves identically. So here's the opportunity here. If you're listening to this and going, well, maybe I could do something, is that you can create something unique. And it doesn't even have to be that different. If you're 1 degree different, you'll get more people. If you're 5 degrees different, you'll solve your problem. And so you don't have to like specialize in pelvic floor. You hit it on the head. There's really 2 ways to separate ourselves out. And one of them is through how we operate the model. And you and I could have a whole nother episode on the different models, because we're big believers that this broken model that we keep trying to play in is like an electric fence that the electricity was turned off a long time ago, but we think we still have to live in it. But that's maybe a deeper discussion. But the other way is culture. And someone could be listening to this going, you know what? Actually, I treat geriatric knee replacements better than anyone else. Maybe I should make that my messaging. Yeah, you should. Like, there's nothing, just because you have a niche doesn't mean you can't treat a diverse population, but it's all about like, for not just your patients, but for your hires, but for your marketing for your doctors. If you went out there and said, hey, listen, we can treat a variety of things, but we're the best in the world at knee replacements, whatever that is, you're going to get more business of the type of business you're good at and what you want more of that's more profitable. So recruiting is the same thing. But here's the difference. If you're telling doctors you do knee replacements better than anyone else, you can still say that to your hiring, but it's got to be why that matters to them. They might be interested in orthopedics and knees, sure, but where's the future in their company? Going back to the pelvic floor example, that's one of their missing, the second piece called culture that we can attract with. Yep. It's the vision. We have to create a vision, no matter what we do, for us to recruit, retain the right talent, the A players. A players, they want a problem to solve. C players need instruction. B players need validation. A players need a high-level problem to solve. And what they want to solve is maybe a new location. So that's just one way to recruit. But the vision's got to be there that will solve the question, why should I work here? And then where's my future in this company? So that's where I lean on. There's like those specialties, but then there's culture. Those are 2 ways that we can separate ourselves out.
Well, and I agree. And I had to hear of this connection between success and culture. I think culture helps people build that identity. Like, whenever you go in a room, and if I go, I'll just pick on religious heritage for a moment.
Sure.
I go to New York, I go to the bagel shop, and I'm like, hey, you're a Jew, I'm a Jew, we're all Jews. Like, we feel part of a team and a group and a this and a that. Yeah. You know, I'm a USC Trojan fan. I go and I see someone, and all I have to do is go fight on. Boom. we're connected. So culture is about building a tribe. It's about a tribe of shared values, shared, something, there's alignment. And one thing that I've noticed recently in how people are filling out my job applications, because I have a pretty disgustingly crazy job application in my approach.
I'm not
And
surprised by that whatsoever.
I think one day you will have fun to see what does Brandon do, like the
I
length
really
that
want to
Brandon
dive in.
will go to. But I keep seeing this word alignment. I keep seeing when I ask this question, why are you seeking new employment? The word I keep seeing is alignment.
Yeah,
And I think that gets back to culture.
sure.
And one of the things that I started doing so recently I had to go through this process of recalibrating my core values because what I thought my core values were are different than what they are. Does that surprise you?
It does. I mean, you occur to me as someone who's so thoughtful that like you surprising yourself on a foundational level. I guess it shouldn't, but because every one of us are evolving, but still that does surprise me a little.
So let me tell you why. I used to create core values on what I want us to represent. And I didn't recognize that I needed to look to see what my core values were based on how I operated every day. And when I said, what are the core values that you see in how I act every day? That's what represents the company. So one of the core values that I never thought I would put on a core value sheet, I did because I'm like, this is something that means something to me and I do every day. And that is one of my core values, you won't be surprised by this, is responsiveness. I really recognize that that's not something you see in companies saying their core values responsiveness. It's ethics, it's this, it's that. And so the three core values that I recognize, like what do I represent on a daily basis? And now I put it into my job ad because I need people to understand that when I'm looking at them part of my company, they need to represent these two. They need to live it. And so transparency, obviously, I said responsiveness, and then the other one's integrity. Those three. That's it. Transparency.
Can I offer a fifth value from someone who experiences you?
Sure.
Go giver. Like, I think if you ever, like, you're one of the most go-givery people I've met. And so having that out there, but I love what you're saying. And I love what you're saying about your values. Cause like using this, we're going to tie this to recruiting, of course, but the idea that like responsiveness, if any of you know Brandon, I have never shot him in communication that I haven't been shocked almost by the quick response, thoroughness, thoughtfulness of the response. In my head, it does a couple of things. Number one, I feel cared for. I feel seen. I feel important. Number two, I feel pressure. I want to make sure that I respond in kind because it elevates. It's like that hardworking person in your team. It makes everyone else work hard. It's like there's something, it's not just the word, it's the experience behind the word. But I love how you identified these words as values of things that you're living. I literally had a discussion yesterday with this MMA fighter who's a PT, and he has his core values. He said, I chose my values based on what I do. Some of them are a little bit aspirational, but it's mostly like, these are the things that I'm already doing that I really care about. And I want my team, but also his family. He has a set of family values. And so he uses that as an opportunity to like, build people up. So I think that's great that you're framing values in that way that helps us attract the right people.
Well, and two things. One is I appreciate you stating go giver so that you understand. For me, go giver is integrity. Integrity is about, so that's just how I live integrity.
You exchange with integrity.
What integrity looks like to me is giving more than I'm getting. It's that I put out more to this world than I expect back.
Totally.
Because if I take a tree and I plant two, then I continue to leave something behind. But if I literally just plant a tree and take a tree, there's nothing left at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All I did was replace what I took.
Yeah. And that's transactional. That's not transformational. And it's weird because and this is why people don't do online communities is because there's a givingness behind it. There's that like, if you use those things as a tactic, if you're using it as an exchange, I'm going to build this online community so that the purpose of that community is to hire people. That's not integrity the way that you define it, or go giver the way I do. It's like we have to care about this is the big secret of attracting a talent. The tactic might be considered online community, but the heart of it is that you really believe that those people that you can serve are out there, and you build a pond where they can be served. And you, by the way, here's what's crazy is when you build the right pond, you love to do the work in that pond. It feels like patient care in a sense, because you're treating their pain. And so in the case of Kylie, it's the pain of not knowing how to become a pelvic floor therapist. In your case, what else could it be? Could it be finding entrepreneurs that you can build? And that's what I did. I had a pond where I would go speak at a university and go, who here wants to open a practice? And I go, great, you need to join my online coaching group. And I had one video call a month where I'd have 30 to 40 people who I would just Q&A what it's like to be a private practice owner. And guess what happens? That relationship develops. And I started growing my practice in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, where people have to drive 45 minutes past other jobs to come work for me for the same or less money. But they did it because they felt like they had their community, but they also saw the future of like, he's going to help me open a practice one day. And I did. And most of them didn't need to because they started locations for me. So it can be, it's like, but you have to start with like what you're good at, what you're passionate at. Like who are, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jump in.
What people don't have to recognize, what they have to recognize is there's obviously the online community side, but there's even an easier step to this. Okay. Because everyone gets, I'm going to speak on behalf of the audience right now. Oh my God. Now I got to do technology and I got to record. I got to find people.
True that.
I'm going to say it this way. For the next year, put out 4 continuing ed on-site community events at your clinic. Invite everyone from around, bring them in, bring a topic that means something, let them connect, and then invite them to carry on their conversations in an easy Facebook group. That's it. And it literally could be like mine could be fly high, whatever. And all of a sudden, everyone that comes to my continuing ed, and that's really organically, when people say like, how have you built what you built? It started with speaking at a school, and then it was speaking at a conference, and then it was being featured on other people's podcasts, and then it was starting my own podcast. Then it was starting a Facebook group that grew to 1,200 different practice owners and peds and whatnot. Then it became a conference. Then it became group coaching, and all these little communities organically grow. And what happens is you plant a seed and everyone else helps it grow.
I couldn't love that more. Thank you for finding more of an introductory level step that gets people started, because we aren't the most technologically advanced people. Kylie already had a strong love for social media, which is why she went that route. I'm seeing in those cases though, where people have 20, 30, 40 locations, that's what they build. But if you just have 1 to 3 locations and you're just trying to solve your problem, I love that idea. The one thing I'll add as a layer or suggestion is that they also make it fun. Brand it a little. Just a little bit of branding goes a long way. A little bit of branding goes a long way. So you give that group a name, something fun. It's like, if you're doing diagnostic ultrasound as your pool, come watch this. It's like, the diagnostic club, something that may just resonate as like a identity as to what you're doing. Because when, like you said earlier, when you're going to your sports team, when you're going to the bagel shop, status is the greatest way to sell. There's 3 things we can sell on: avoiding pain, pursuing pleasure or joy, and the third one is status, according to Alex Hormozi. And status, it trumps the other by far. So if we can create an identity that gives people some status, like, yeah, I'm in this specialty leadership group, clinical leader mastery group, whatever you want to call it, and they come into your clinic. I think that's such an easier way to get started, and one that feels maybe more authentic to the clinicians in this audience.
So the interesting thing that I often see on this topic is I get asked questions like, hey, Brandon, like, how do I compete with the hospitals? How do I compete with all of this? And what I think they're losing is I'm like, you're not focusing on the identity then. Because at the end of the day, if they're transactionally motivated to go to the hospital, they're not your identity. That's the hardest thing for this audience to understand. 90% of the people are not your audience. You're looking for 1 out of 100,000. And the fact that you have to dig to China to find it, that's what you're too lazy to do. And I'm just giving the hard love right now because what I'm tired of hearing is, I can't afford. Let me tell you, Will, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
I have the most expensive conference in our industry to attend.
Yes. It is the best industry. At my industry event, I said yours was the best. That's how much I mean it. But it is the most expensive, no question.
But from year one, it was the most expensive. And people would have probably taken a different approach, and they would have said, I want to buy the market. I want to make it cheap so that everyone comes. And I'm like, then I would have had people that don't fit the culture. And the number one reason why people say that my conference is great is because of the people. That's it. It's not that,
Interesting.
like, if you ask anyone who comes back year after year, this statement is, I come for the community. And so
It's
I
true.
come back to stop getting stuck on what others want and start focusing on what your go-giver mentality is and those who value what you can give. Stop getting stuck in a transactional, like I almost feel like it's fencing. I don't know if you've ever watched fencing. It's like the boringest sport in the world where they're like twiddling their things. That's what it feels like. You're like, oh, they want this and I want this. I'm like, no, this is what it is. This is my identity. You want a blue car, go get a blue car. I have a red car. If you don't want a red car, leave. That's where people are like, well, Brandon, that's so hard to find. I go, if you create your voice and your voice is authentic and represents greatness in this world, you will find your people. I know that Will's found his people. I know I've found my people. I know each and every one of you can find your people. And once you find your people, they stay. So something, Will, you may or may not know is we average over 8.5 years of employment retention. I have many clinicians that have worked for me for over 20 years. That doesn't happen from transaction. Wow. That happens from identity and fit.
That's amazing. It's all about that same thing. I'm very blessed to have the same team at Rockstar that's in the United States has worked with me with two other companies together. We keep following each other around because once you build that community, I think that's the coolest thing is that it's sticky. It becomes very sticky in the way that like you realize how rare it is because it is a 1 in a million. And it's okay. That sounds overwhelming, but what's your other option? To not create a unique offer, to not have an identity, to not have a culture and keep trying to hire off of money. I'd rather not be in business. It's like but here's the thing is anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. They just don't know that they can. It's like that thought of, yeah, they have it all within them. They're amazing at recruiting. They just haven't learned. And hopefully this episode will get them started.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave everyone with this because I think it's really important. We've talked a lot about identity is we help recruit A team players. I want to just validate so that you all understand. So one of the things that impresses me most about Will is the reflection of who works with him. I always see you can evaluate your identity based on who you attract and stay with you. He's got 3 people that I've had the luxury to get to know. Tony, Michelle, and Kaylee, right?
Yeah. Kayla. Mm-hmm.
Kayla, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, I'm amazed that you know their names. This is really amazing.
I'm not just saying this, like 3 of the most incredible people. Like I've broken bread with them. And when you break bread with someone, even though I'm gluten-free, it opens your mind. They would go through fire. They would rescue his kid from Africa. They would do anything and everything. And the fact that they've followed, but they haven't just followed. And I want to be clear. There's a difference between someone following and someone leading. They have led beside you in multiple organizations. And so you are a direct reflection of recruiting A players. And I just acknowledge that because I think when you see the best in other people's people, it's a direct reflection of who they are.
That means a lot to me coming from you. I will say this is for the audience who hears this, who's thinking, wow, Will's really got this figured out. I also had a team 15 years ago that would sit around and talk trash about me. I remember, so I'm the same guy. I'm a little bit better a leader. There's no doubt. But the difference was who I hired. The difference was so like, if you had seen my team 15 years ago, you would have gone, wow, Will really doesn't know what he's doing. And you wouldn't be wrong. But what I figured out wasn't that I became better. There was some of that, but it was mostly me just being clearer on what mattered to me and my values and messaging it and then developing a pond where people also wanted to grow in that space. And that is what the funniest thing is. When I hear those compliments and coming from you, it's like the quintessential compliment. It just lands on this idea of like, yeah, I did find great people. Like, I don't hear that like I'm great. I hear that like, man, thank goodness God in my world put those people in front of me, but I had to be able to be open to receiving them. And I didn't find them when I was playing the money game. I wasn't finding them when I was going on LinkedIn and just like seeing who I could hire for more money. I never found any of those people that way, ever.
The hardest part of recruiting is when you're always channeling it through an opportunistic lens.
Yeah.
What would this bring to my table? Oh my gosh, what can this be? And so that's where you have to have other filters along with the opportunistic. It's kind of like the eye doctor that says, look at it here. Now look at it here. Now try this. Is this better? Is that better? Like I literally feel like that's what I do when I hire is I'm like an optometrist that's just kind of putting a bunch of lenses to see what fits.
I love that so much. I think that's so great. It's exactly what it is. It's like, does this work? Does this work? It's like, oh, that's a little bit better. And that's a proactive approach. Because usually what we do in therapy is this better? Yep, I'll take it.
Yep.
It's like, wait, we haven't even looked at other candidates. We haven't created scarcity, urgency, necessity. We're just hiring on pulses. And if they fog a mirror, it's a different mindset for sure.
Well, I so appreciate you being on this episode. Why don't you share it one more time? It's in the show notes, but how do we get in touch with Virtual Rockstar, Will Humphreys? What's the best way for us to connect and learn from you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on my podcast, Willpower Podcast. Please, if you reach out to me, my email will be in there. It's will@virtualrockstar.com. And you can always go to virtualrockstar.com if you want to just learn more about VAs and not be sold. You'll just be educated and see if it's a fit for you. But thank you, Brandon, for the honor of being on this wonderful show and this topic in particular, which I think is the core of why we exist as leaders. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you, and I thank each and every one of you for tuning in each week. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, write your review, and together we can thrive, not just survive. Thank you for tuning in to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. Exciting news. We're now available everywhere, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to YouTube or anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So watch, listen, and reach out. If you love this episode, please drop a 5-star review. It truly means the world to me. Are you looking for more ways to elevate your practice? If so, now is your chance. Reach out, go to my website, or email me at brandon@wellnessworksmp.com. And remember, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.